So it's tough because you've got Scottie Scheffler, who's basically 3-1 in that range, top of the board for good reason. He is just in unbelievable form right now. It's hard to bet against this guy. You've got Bryson, who I always respected at U.S. Open. I was on Bryson last year when he won at the U.S. Open, and we know he's long. I can figure out these golf courses, overpower these golf courses. Rory, bad week at the Canadian Open, but we always have to look at him. So I think with those guys at the top, it's pushing some pretty decent players into that 20 to 30-1 range. I think that's where I'm going to be looking. Xander Schauffele's a name I've been looking at for a while. I just don't feel like his game is fully back. And I don't know if a U.S. Open at Oakmont is where it's all of a sudden going to click for him. So I think I'm looking for accuracy this week. I know we always look for length at the U.S. Open, but with the thick rough, I'm looking at guys that can hit fairways. So maybe a Colin Morikawa, something, a player of that prototype. And hey, maybe even take a shot on a Brooks Koepka, who I saw down at 60-1. I know he's not coming in with any form, but I see Koepka 60-1 at a U.S. Open, and I get a little bit interested.
Anyway, Oakmont Country Club is going to be a stiff test. The rough is thick, and you better find the fairway off the tee this week. It's going to be, I believe, an elite type of player who wins, and that's not going out on a limb. But Scottie Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, I'm going to throw out Rory McIlroy this week. I don't like him. Current form stinks.
Would you look to fade him, Matt, in matchups?
I think so. But since he won at the Masters, I think he's lost a lot of motivation. I think Rory would be a fade. I'll tell you what I bet right before the show here tonight at Circus Sports. I bet Shane Lowry at 33-1. And again, a lot of times you'll see the European players, guys like that, excel on the toughest courses. And Lowry's a guy who's been knocking at the door. He's been so close to winning. He was top 15 again over the weekend at the RBC Canadian Open. At one point there, he felt like he might win that tournament, but he didn't. Lowry, I think, can handle this tough course, and he's in a really strong current form. So I played him 33-1. I want to play Bryson DeChambeau, but Tim, right here at Circuits, plus 725. We're used to getting DeChambeau in like the 12, 15, 20-1 range, and now those bargain prices are gone on DeChambeau. But again, talk about U.S. Open, the toughest layouts, typically the best players are the ones, the cream rises to the top in these type of events. And DeChambeau has proven he can handle U.S. Open courses. I think he's going to be a very popular play this week. I'll be on DeChambeau at some point, shopping around, trying to find the best price at DraftKings.
Is there a way to actively fade some of these guys? Like, would you look to play against some of them in certain matchups? Would there be a certain strong guy off the tee you'd be looking to play against in tournament-long matchups?
Yeah, I think you look at some of the guys at the top of the board. So Justin Thomas is somebody who that's his bugaboo. It's the putting can be inconsistent, but it's the inconsistency off the tee. And he talked earlier this week in press conferences how he's going to club down, he's going to play smart. Well, that mentality and that approach all change when you're one over or you're a couple over through the first couple holes and you start to press a little bit. So I would be very comfortable fading Justin Thomas. He's been very good this year, but just really tends to struggle when we get to a difficult golf course, and Oakmont is certainly at the top of that list. Colin Morikawa might be somebody as well. It's just been weird with him this year, guys. He's super consistent through like 3 of the 4 rounds, and then just kind of all falls apart in one of those rounds. And he's going to need to be on his A+ game. I don't think his ceiling is high enough at this course with this rough. He doesn't have the club head speed that some of these other guys do to extract his ball out of this rough. So he's going to need to hit all of his 200-yard iron shots to 25 feet consistently on these greens where it's impossible to stop them. That's difficult to do. So I would look at those guys.
So that's 280 for the entire weekend, and the prop, the finishing score, is 278.5. How many times do we see a tournament where the prop is basically, are you going to be over or under, 1 under to win this thing? That's nuts.
Never. The answer is never, right? And I think we talked about Angel Cabrera won this, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or so at 5 over, right? DJ won last time it was here at 4 under. So, I mean, you think about that. It just tells you how hard. And if you have not seen, if you're listening to the show, you've probably seen some of the clips But if you have not seen some of the clips of the rough, it's unbelievable. And what's interesting, Jeff Sherman actually sent me a clip that Rory McIlroy's quote was, he birdied the last 2 holes on Tuesday and shot 81.
Yes. Yes.
How
about that?
How hard this golf course is right now.
Yeah.
But right now, I've got Bryson DeChambeau top 5 at plus 160. DeChambeau right now to win is like 7-1 or plus 750. I don't want to bet him to win at that price. I'm thinking maybe if he gets off to a slow start in the first round, you can grab him at 10-1, 12-1, 15, who knows. A little bit better price. So I just played DeChambeau top 5 for right now. He's, aside from Scottie Scheffler, I think DeChambeau is clearly the number 2 power-rated golfer in this field. It's not Rory, it's DeChambeau this week. Ludwig Oberg, 24-1. That's how I played on him so far. Shane Lowry, 33-1, and top 5 at plus 525. I like Lowry's chances to win this tournament.
Koepka won it in 2018 at 1 over. But look, he did back-to-back. Look at your boy Brooks in 2017. He was 16 under. That was at, was that Aaron Hills in Wisconsin?
Aaron Hills. Yep, Aaron Hills. Yep. Yep.
So I'm guessing that's where you want to start this week, is going to war with your boy Brooks?
I'm actually fading him in a matchup this week. He's matched up against Tony Finau, and while Tony Finau's form isn't great, I actually think Koepka is nursing an injury. To be honest, he seems like he's chronically nursing an injury lately, but he's got no form at all. Finau, we at least see some signs of life from. He doesn't look totally dead, and he actually played well here. The last time if you're Winford or Oakmont, he's played well in the Open here recently. So, and even last year at the Open, he was T3. Finau's got some form, 31st at Memorial, 19th at PGA Championship, 15th at the Truist. So he's got some form. Koepka's got nothing. So I'm certainly like Finau in that matchup on DraftKings.
Yeah.
What about Shane Lowry in this course intrigues you? Because you're not the only one. I've seen a couple of folks out there intrigued by Shane Lowry to win this outright. Looking at the top 5, you can get plus money on him to finish top 20, which that certainly looks appealing. So what about Shane Lowry at Oakmont that intrigues you?
Yeah, I thought top 20 was a little bit too easy. I wanted to go for a little bit better score here in case Lowry has been knocking on the door in a bunch of tournaments recently. And that's why I think you bet him top 5 or top 10 just in case he's the bridesmaid again. To Scottie Scheffler, you got to play some of these top 5s and 10s because Scheffler might just win the tournament and you don't want to be SOL. But I've got Lowry top 5 at plus 525. And here's the deal. The last time the U.S. Open was played at Oakmont in 2016, do you know who the 54-hole leader was?
Shane Lowry
by 4 strokes. He ended up finishing second in that tournament. But again, this is a guy who excels on the tougher golf courses. And that's why I'm looking at players here like Lowry and Matt Fitzpatrick. European players who can score on the toughest layouts with the thickest rough. Lowry is one of these guys. He's actually had top 10s, Bay Hill, Pebble Beach. Some of the Pebble Beach was some poor weather conditions as well. Last week, he had 4 rounds in the 60s at TPC Toronto, and he's just been knocking on the door. And course history means a lot to me, too, because when I say the 2016 U.S. Open at Oakmont, he was a 54-hole leader by 4 strokes. That's significant.
Mitch, it's really not even close, to be honest. I mean, there's so many cases for him, right? The best comp course for Oakmont is Winged Foot. Who won at Winged Foot? Bryson. Who was the winner of the last U.S. Open? Bryson. Majors form coming in, 5th at the Masters, T2 at the PGA Championship, Bryson. When I talk about my first grade model I run every week, just a super simple model. Number 1 player in it, Bryson. So yeah, at the top of the board, I've used some odds boost and parlayed them with some different stuff to get the odds up a little higher. I sent you guys a parlay I made where I parlayed Bryson to win the U.S. Open with the Pacers to win the series 4-2, right? Just fun things like that. A lot of different ways you can get creative with Bryson, but I would highly encourage you to have that be your highest exposed golfer this week. And I for good reason. I think he is definitely the favorite to win in my mind.
Rahm seems popular. How do you want to play Rahm? What's the best way?
Yeah, I was thinking through that, and I think my favorite way to play him is in the nationality markets at top European at plus 400. I can make a case for him in the outright market, but this is sort of my version of the winner without that we see a lot. There are certainly some other talented European players who could make a run, but none with the pedigree, course experience, and form of Rahm, especially if you don't think Rory's going to get there, as I don't.
What we anticipate is going to be that ebb and flow of guys having to save par, maybe take their medicine with a bogey. How do you assess that part of it?
Yeah, I think Bryson certainly fits the bill, the type of golfer who can win at a tournament like this. What was the course that he won his U.S. Open at a few years ago? Was that Wingfoot?
Wingfoot.
Yep. Okay,
Wingfoot,
so
yeah.
that's set up very similarly, where I remember going into the week, the rough was like 5-6 inches, and he did kind of the bomb and gouge tactic.
Yep.
And that was a part of his career where he was literally just trying to chase as much distance as possible. He's dialed back from that a little bit, but I still think he can play that game to some degree, at least play that game better than almost anyone else in the world. And that kind of tactic, even with this rough, I still think will work here, where just get it as far down as possible off the tee. And if you are in the rough in one of these bad lies, instead of having to hit a long iron out of there, you're hitting a wedge out of there, which gives you a better chance to control that ball coming out of the rough. So I know he has the mental makeup for it. He is a U.S. Open champion, the defending champ. So with the way this course is setting up, guys, being maybe as difficult as we've seen in a long time, I really think that shrinks the pool of the number of players who can actually win this thing. And it's going to be the elite of the elite. I would be shocked if it is not a top 10 player in the world that is lifting this trophy after the tournament.
Let's talk mid-tier. We're in the 30 to 60 to 1 range. Couple guys here. Walk us through it.
Sure. So I know it's Liv, but Joaquin Niemann is in really good form, and I'd rank him ahead of everyone else outside of Scottie, Bryson, Rahm, and Rory. So he's my favorite play in the winner without market at 18 to 1. 18th at the PGA, 29th at the Masters is solid. And believe it or not, guys, the number 2 player in the field in driving distance behind Bryson is Niemann over the last 36 rounds. So he profiles statistically very, very similar to Bryson, and people don't ever talk about that. Won 2 of the last 4 live events. Again, see what you want about live, but he's winning golf tournaments. And doesn't it feel like Niemann's been around forever? He's only 26. It feels like he's been around on tour for 10 years. I'm a big believer in Niemann this week, so I do like him a lot in the winner without market, and you can play him at 30 to 1 if you're interested there. Full disclosure here, I'm become an Oberg homer. He's my favorite player on tour now, and I bet him in the each-way market at 28 to 1, in the top 5 each-way market. The alternate way to bet that is to bet him to win and bet him top 5. We know the talent here is undeniable. You watch him hit a ball, it looks different than everyone else. He found some form, guys, though, with back-to-back finishes inside the top 16. His game reminds me a lot of a young Dustin Johnson. Physically, they look a lot the same. His swing looks even better than DJ's. He's 6th in the field in gaining off the tee, and for Oberg, I think it's going to come down to putting. He's capable of putting well, as he has in the last 2 majors, and if you knew going in that he would gain 3.5 strokes putting like he has in those last 2 majors, then he would be 20 to 1 or less this week. So I think it's going to come down to putting for him. I've said this a lot this year, but the window of getting Oberg at this price in majors will be short-lived. Get it while the getting's good.
We still getting the Koepka feels on these things? Still, they're still lingering. Yeah,
it's tough. I don't think I'm ever going to completely wave the white flag on Brooks Koepka, but I get why you wouldn't want to touch him right now. It doesn't feel like he's the same player. But if he's ever going to show up, it's a U.S. Open, it's a PGA Championship, it's these style of golf tournaments. Tough to get a gauge on his game right now. But at 60 to 1, you don't have to put too much of a big play on Brooks, just in case he does find it.
What are your expectations for this course coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I think the USGA is trying to get back to the traditional U.S. Open test of really thick rough, really testing the players in the most complete way as we see all year. I think we saw in some past U.S. Opens, scores got into the double digits under par, and that's just not quite what we expect from a U.S. Open. So, always at Oakmont, like you said, this is the most complete test these players face. And, you look at 07, Angel Cabrera won at 4 over par. That's the highest total score all the way back to 1972. When Dustin Johnson won, it was 4 under par. I'm expecting a very brutal examination this week. The last 2 times it was at Oakmont, there was graduated rough. So, if you were slightly off, and these fairways are so narrow, so everyone's going to miss fairways. It's not graduated this week. You're right into 5-inch thick rough. They're cutting it in a way so golf balls sink all the way down to the bottom. We've talked about in past major championships, the rough is really going to stop them. It's going to curb all this distance that we see on tour now. And that doesn't end up being the case once the tournament starts. I really think it has the potential to level the playing field a little bit and let a more accurate player compete with the guys who are just bombing it, like Bryson DeChambeau, 330 yards on average out there. I do think this is going to be a really awesome week and has the potential to really play out the way the USGA hopes it will.
Call your shot. Who is there at the end? Give me the top 2 guys in contention. Who do you think wins it?
Scottie and Xander. Scottie and Xander or Scottie and Bryson. I hate to, pick Scottie because of the value, but he's playing Tiger Woods level golf. The market with his prices indicates that. So do the stats on course. If the course is going to be this difficult, Scottie wins it.
Well, last time I was on here, I probably did what I'm about to do, and I'm going to do the without Scottie Scheffler market because I don't want to deal with the guy that I think is going to win. I also don't want to bet him at plus 260 or plus 275 or even plus 300. Not that you can get it at that number at many places. I'm going to go with Jon Rahm. I'm going to go with Jon Rahm in the without Scottie Scheffler market. That's my main play. I got a couple other names to kind of mention here, but Jon Rahm's playing really well. Yes, he's playing well on live, and you can kind of like take that with a bit of a grain of salt, but I do think there's good evidence that he's gaining across all metrics on live, and that would probably translate over to the PGA Tour as well. But more importantly, we saw him almost chase down Scottie Scheffler about a month ago at the PGA Championship. I think he's in great form, and when we look at who can possibly win this tournament, I guess there's some underdogs that could kind of get in there, but there's really 5 or 6, maybe 8 or 9 guys that I think could win this tournament. I think Jon Rahm and Bryson are at the top of that list once you get past Scottie Scheffler. As far as Bryson is concerned, his number in the without market's like plus 700. And because I put Rahm and Bryson on the same playing field, at least here, especially with respect to how good both of them are off the tee, I'm just going to go with the better number. I'm going to go with Jon Rahm. Other names that are sort of in the more underdog market here, Shane Lowry in the without market, I do like on a tough course at 35 to 1.